Do you know about the UFC's infamous movie star curse? The premise is simple. Whenever UFC fighters appear in movies, they go on to lose shortly thereafter. In today's video, we're exploring this fascinating phenomenon and the superstars that have fallen victim to it. P.S. Conor McGregor, you could still walk away. Number 5. Michael Bisping, XXX, Return of Xander Cage. Michael Bisping's unlikely ascent to the UFC middleweight throne in the twilight of his career serves as a major career highlight. What's more impressive is that he stepped in on short notice with very little time to prepare. The Count famously received the call to fight Luke Rockhold at UFC 199 while filming Vin Diesel's XXX Return of Xander Cage. Bisping dropped everything and jumped into fight camp, only to do the unthinkable when he KO'd Rockhold to claim UFC gold. He later got sweet revenge against his arch nemesis when he defeated the belt against Dan Henderson at UFC 204. Needless to say, 2016 was a tremendous year for the Count. The following year, two major things happened for Bisping. In January, XXX finally hit theaters around the world. Later that year, the Englishman would drop the belt to a returning Georges St. Pierre at UFC 217. Did he lose because he was cursed, or because GSP is just the best pound-for-pound fighter ever? Probably the latter, but who knows? Number 4. Valentina Shevchenko, bruise. Valentina Shevchenko isn't technically a victim of the curse. On paper, she's still undefeated at women's flyweight with 9 straight victories on her resume. But in her first fight since the release of Bruised, a movie she starred in, the Kyrgyzstani superstar almost suffered her first loss in 5 years. A number of fans who watched her most recent title defense against Talia Santos believe that Bullet shouldn't have picked up the win. The co-main event of UFC 275 saw a surprising twist as Santos proved to be a far tougher challenger than she was originally given credit for. During the fight, Shevchenko didn't look like the usual version of herself as Santos took the fight to the champ, arguably securing the first 2 rounds. Unfortunately, a clash of heads derailed the Brazilian's momentum and Shevchenko walked out of Singapore with a belt still wrapped around her waist. Number 3. Quentin Rampage Jackson, the A-Team. Quentin Rampage Jackson starred as B.A. Baracus in the 2010 remake of the hit 80s action series, The A-Team. It was a huge role, especially for a debuting actor, as the iconic Mr. T originally played it. That same year, Rampage faced his bitter rival Rashad Evans after serving as opposing coaches on a reality TV show, The Ultimate Fighter 10. Rampage vs. Evans was a promoter's wet dream. The rivalry had several ingredients that made for a combustible fight: history, drama, animosity, you name it. As such, the matchup was billed as one of the biggest non-title fights of its time. However, come fight night, Evans proved that Rampage is not his equal. Suga repeatedly took his opponent down and controlled the fight for the entire 15 minutes. Having no answer to Evans' superior wrestling, Rampage just laid there and took his L. Number 2. Ronda Rousey, Fast 7. In 2017, Ronda Rousey was one of the biggest names in sports, bar none. The inaugural UFC Women's Champ is literally everywhere, from billboards to magazines, talk shows, and, you guessed it, even movies. Rousey portrayed a badass villain in the 7th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise. She fought Michelle Rodriguez's character Letty in an epic showdown that took place at the elegant Emirates Palace in Abu Dhabi. In May, Furious 7 finally hit theaters, and Rousey's star shone as bright as ever. Later that year, Rousey defended her belt against Holly Holm in a fight she was expected to dominate. To the surprise of many, Rousey's fictional fight scene was more competitive than her actual bout. Holm staged one of the biggest upsets in US history, knocking Rousey out with a devastating head kick in the 2nd round. Number 1. Kamaru Usman, Black Panther. If any fighter isn't affected by any type of curse, it has to be Kamaru Usman, right? After all, the Nigerian Nightmare is a fighter with few identifiable weaknesses. Unfortunately, Usman is not invincible after all. The former UFC champ suffered arguably the unluckiest KO in the company's history. After dominating Leon Edwards for the better part of 4 rounds, Usman got caught with a head kick that ended his night, with just 56 seconds remaining in the bout. Prior to the fight, it was announced that Usman had joined the cast of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Many believe that the distractions around Usman, such as filming a movie, chasing Canelo Alvarez, and lobbying for a move to light heavyweight, are the very reasons behind his loss. To be fair though, Usman looked like he was cruising to another unanimous decision win, until he wasn't. Maybe that's proof that he really was cursed. Like and share if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to follow Sportskeeda MMA on all of our social media platforms.